Today I just want to talk about my journey as a pre-PA and applying to PA school and what my aspirations are as a PA. So I'm currently a junior in pre-PA school. My major is pre-PA. I have a minor in nutrition I'm pursuing. I just want to talk about where I was before I had an interest in medicine. So growing up, I didn't really have an interest in medicine. I always knew that I wanted to do something that was going to improve the world, going to help people. I wanted to, have a personal connection in people's lives and, make their life better. But when I was younger, I didn't really understand what that was that I wanted to, what the vehicle was to do that. I always had an interest specifically in humanitarian aid, traveling the world, going to different countries and providing aid for people in whatever way. And I didn't know how to do this though, but I wanted to travel the world, help people, go to different countries, all that stuff. So in high school, they don't really prepare you for anything college-wise really, especially where I went. But they did have us sign up for a local community college, which I did do, and I had no idea, what anything meant. So choosing my major, I just chose humanities because I thought that was something that involved helping people. Little did I know, it's basically art history, histories, anything like that, sociology. And I didn't find this out until I actually started at the community college, and my advisor's like, you should just go general studies if you want to do something like that and you're not sure. So I switched to general studies, and I took mostly sciences. I took an anatomy, psychologies, and I found it very interesting, especially anatomy and psychology. And I did have an interest in psychology when I was younger. I did want to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but it just never came about because I was more interested in nutrition and fitness and stuff like that. So I found an interest in physical therapy at first. So I actually applied to a physical therapy school, a physical therapist assistant program, and I actually got accepted into that. I wasn't expecting, but I did. So then I went there. I was pretty nervous and unsure of if this is what I should be doing, because like I said, I just applied almost out of a whim because I wasn't sure if I was gonna get accepted, and I did. And, I went there for a year and a half, and I met some amazing people. And I went on my clinicals, and I worked in hospitals, a few outpatient clinics. I worked in the ICU, and I really got a taste of what medicine is really about. So when you're an outpatient, it's kind of watered down what medicine is about. And I'm not saying anything negative about outpatient. I mean, I love working in outpatient. I think it's a great career, and I commend the people who work in outpatient. But when you work in inpatient, you really see people at the worst of the worst, especially the acute care hospitals. You see people at arguably the worst position in their life, especially in the ICU. I mean, you have people that might not make it, that might not be there the next week, and you're working with these people and getting to know them. And as a PTA working in the hospital, what I could do, my scope of practice was not what I would have liked to be doing for the patients. Physical therapy is very, very important for patients, and I think it's part of the bread and butter of physical rehab as a whole. Like medically bringing someone back to where they were before. I think it's a staple in that, but also, without the doctors and the PAs, where would we be? And I like that as a PA or a doctor, their scope of practice is much wider, what they could provide medically. And I saw that in the hospital, and I wanted to do more for my patients. So once I graduated PTA school, I enrolled in a pre-PA program. And once again, didn't expect to get in, and I got in. So I'm like, oh crap, now I gotta step up. So I never really had the strongest sense of purpose in my life, especially when I was younger. And I felt like I finally got that, like that visceral, strong sense of purpose and something that like, drives you and gets you up in the morning. And that's what I found when I enrolled in pre-PA school. So I didn't take, any kind of chemistry or even biology. My math classes were very minimal in high school. So starting out in, college was difficult for me. Is my gen bios, gen chems, and some other stuff that I hadn't taken previously in college. And while I was doing that, I was trying to get as much shadowing hours as possible, as much volunteering hours as possible. And I really think those two things really helped develop me as a person. Obviously developed me as a medical provider as well. And then I also had to focus on taking my GREs, which I did take last few months ago, actually in August. And I did fairly well on it, better than I expected. However, my math was just a little bit above average, which I would have liked to do better because I did study all summer for it. But I do want to say that PA programs do focus more on the verbal section. So if you take the GRE, definitely study both. But just know that the programs focus more on the verbal section if you're applying to PA school than the math section. So definitely, focus on your flashcards. Definitely start early. Give yourself enough time to study because it is a lot of vocabulary. When I studied, I studied over 500 words. I definitely didn't know them all, but you definitely have to put in the time and put in the effort and repeat, everything over and over and over. This isn't a test you can study for a week for, or even a few weeks, or even a month. You want to have at least more than a month. I would say a month at the minimum, up to 3 months. If you go beyond 3 months, you're kind of, overstretching it, and you won't be as focused. Because obviously you also have to focus on volunteering and shadowing when you're applying to PA school. So I will be applying next year, in April or May, and if all goes well, I'll be starting in May of 2022. So I just want to talk about my aspirations personally as a future physician's assistant. I would like to work in emergency medicine. I do enjoy the fast-paced environment, and I am someone who gets, bored fairly quickly. I can't focus on one thing for long. So that's why I like the idea of emergency medicine, because you're seeing something different every day. That's one thing I enjoy about working at the rehab hospital I do now as a PTA, is that you always, you have the same kind of theme of what you're seeing. Um, you know, primarily ages, 50 to 80, and it's usually fractures. We have a lot of brain injuries, but it's always something different. You're always meeting different people. And that's what I really like about emergency medicine, is it's a fast-paced environment. You're always seeing something different. It's always challenging you every day. So that's why I want to get into emergency medicine. I also have hopes of joining the National Guard as a PA. So I would start out as an officer. It's a first lieutenant, and I know a few people who are in the National Guard in the Army, and I actually know a PA who's in the National Guard currently. And the good thing about being in the National Guard, one of the benefits, is that you could also have a civilian career. So the National Guard isn't a full-time job. I mean, unless you're on a deployment or you're in the middle of a training, you could still have a civilian job. So the PA that I know, he works in family medicine, and then he works as a National Guard member. And I think it's a great thing, because you might get tired of your civilian job after a while. It's just Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday. So it kind of gives you that kind of diversity in what you're doing, and it gives you that diversity in the patients you're seeing, and it also gives you self-satisfaction to be serving your country. And saving lives out there. A big thing in the National Guard that I would like to do is humanitarian aid. Going to different countries and helping people in developing countries, or developed countries even. I just think this is something that's very rewarding to people to be able to do. And I know there's other vehicles to give humanitarian aid. Like you could do the AmeriCorps. I know there's a few others. But I just think, the National Guard gives me an opportunity to also serve in the United States, but also if I ever get deployed into other countries as well. So those are some of my aspirations as a physician's assistant. I'm also a big entrepreneurial guy, even though I haven't been successful yet. But I'm working on that. So I might talk about that a little bit in the future, like some ideas I've had. Some of the things I've been focusing on is, like some kind of nutrition product. My goal, entrepreneurial-wise, is just to improve the lives of people, make being healthy more simple and easier for people, because I think it's very daunting when you try to get into, eating healthy and living a healthy life and working out every day. And I think it'd be a lot easier if it was just a little more simpler when you're starting out. I think as long as you could start out, you're set after there. I think just starting out and figuring out your plan is the hardest part. So business-wise, entrepreneurial-wise, I do have interest in that. But for now, I'm going to be focusing on my career as a physician's assistant. So that's all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit on my story. If you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to go into any of the things that I mentioned or didn't mention farther. And I just want to thank you guys for joining me today.